Hi everyone, Brian from Variable Traders here. It is the weekend, June 1st, and this, of course, is the weekend video. We'll take a look at what happened in the markets last week, do a quick review, and then we'll take a look at what opportunities, trading opportunities we've got coming up this week. We've got employment data coming up Wednesday and Friday, should keep things interesting, so let's get down to it. Okay, so starting out with the week in review, it was a shortened trading week because of the holiday Monday, but nonetheless, there was lots to trade and lots of excitement. Friday, of course, we had the much anticipated PCE price index data released. That's, of course, the Fed's favored index for gauging how the fight on inflation is going, and the numbers really just came in pretty much bang on as far as expectations were, so there was really no surprises. But Friday saw some wild price action. The market started to sell off and really started to accelerate, sort of bottomed out there and chopped sideways. Usually in a market like that, you would expect a continuation of selling into the close as we got closer, but exactly the opposite happened. We got a real rip your face off rally going into the end of the trading month. So it was quite the trading session we ended the month on. The tech sector did see some selling this week. We had companies like Dell and CRM reporting, seemingly giving some sort of lukewarm guidance on some of the AI initiatives. And of course, that led to some selling in the big tech stocks that have been leading this market higher. So we did see some selling in the QQQs. The Dow was down a little bit. SPY pretty close to being flat, not really changing that much. But the IWM was up a smidgen, and that was because interest rates came down as the week went on. So the interest rate sensitive small caps gained a little bit on the week. Energy and utilities, biggest gainers on the week, and technology and healthcare, two of the sectors that were down the most on the week. 2-year Treasury down a little bit there. You can see from the previous week. 10-year kind of flat, really didn't do much of anything. And the dollar, of course, was flat on the week, reflecting that treasuries didn't do much either. So Bitcoin, last I checked, down about $1,000 from last week. But as you know, that's a 24/7 market, so it could change at any point. So that was kind of the week in review. Crazy week. Okay, so before we go on here, I always like to do a quick plug for my books that are available on Amazon. You can see them there, Profiting as an Active Trader, How to Swing Trade, my oldest book, and my latest book, How to Trade Options. And you'll notice I do talk a lot about options trades in the room here or a video as well. So if you want to check those books out, they are available for sale. So let's get down and look at some charts here. Okay, so let's take a look at the overall market and the indexes here for a quick review. Where we are right now, you can see, as always, we like to start out with the treasuries. 2-year really just kind of bopping along here, chopping in a range. Really haven't done much in the last couple of weeks. And as far as the 10-year goes, you can kind of see here we've been up and down a little bit, and sort of again really came off a high here this week, and seem to be settling into this 4.5 range. So again, we'll see how the employment data affects that as we get that on Friday. Transports have really been selling off here, but we managed to make a bounce, and this bounce really came right at an area where we would have expected support. So you can see here last 2 days, transports came back up. And of course, according to Dow theory, transports are supposed to be an indicator of economic activity. So we did have a bounce right at an area where there was a previous low that was supported. And again, we bounced back up again. So we'll see where that goes. As far as the Dow goes, Dow's had a pretty rough week here. Boeing had some bad news. CRM really sold off after their earnings, but those stocks particularly came back on Friday, which is kind of reflected in this this Friday's bar, which looks pretty decent. We are well off the lows of the week, and again came back down, tested this area where we would have expected a lot of support right here at the 38,000. So we've bounced back up. We've gotten above some of these moving averages. We'll see where it heads this week, but again, sort of a double top here on the Dow, and it's sort of looking like we might be stuck in a range here on the Dow. The Qs had an interesting day on Friday. You can see here huge sell-off and a massive comeback on that Friday, and you can see there the length of that wick and the volume that we put in there. Probably some short covering after this big sell-off, some momentum going into the close, but again, we did finish down on the day on the tech index regardless. Again, some of the comments maybe by Dell and CRM this week that took a little bit of the air out of the AI trade. The Qs, again, still in an uptrend. We didn't even get below some of these moving averages, so we'll see what happens next week. But definitely a high has been put in on a weekly, and again, the SPY again, kind of a big sell-off day Friday, and a real big comeback, went right back into the green there, and on volume too. So maybe some end of the month adjustments to portfolios as well, but you can see here this is where we've been struggling to get to break through here, so we'll be keeping an eye on that level, but that's certainly a level that is definitely of interest. And again, we sold off and we came right back up, so possibly a indication that the bulls are still in control of this market. IWM, again, Thursday, Friday, that's when the interest rates started. Interest rates really were down on Wednesday. I should say the interest rates were up. So this index was down, and then the interest rates really started to leak off. We got some weaker than expected employment numbers, and I think that kind of put the markets a little at ease, and maybe brought some potential for rate cuts back on the table again, but that's a real debate right now. And the IWM, you can see here, we're kind of hanging right in this, we're kind of hanging in a range right now. This 210 level is definitely proving to be an area of resistance. Volume wasn't very heavy last week, so but again, that was a shortened trading week, so can't really read into that very much. Again, Friday we had a real the VIX started to creep up there, but again, this real massive buying that went into the close Friday saw that VIX really drop off again, and quite often it drops off on a Friday as well. The UUP, the dollar, again, we kind of ended flat on the week, just because rates ended flat on the week as well. So there's your dollar kind of stuck in a range there on the UUP. And as far as Bitcoin goes, we're kind of leaking lower here on the daily, after popping our heads above 70,000 and then retrying to test that and couldn't hold above it. So we'll just see where this goes. It does look like we put in a higher low here. Higher low, and the pullbacks, and again a higher low, still holding this moving average. So we'll see if we can push through and stay above this 70,000 level on a Bitcoin if you're a Bitcoin bull. And that was it for the week. Okay, so let's go over some current positions that I'm in and got out of this week. This XLU, the utilities ETF, still in this. It held this 20 moving average on this little pullback here. Looks like it's getting ready to break out higher. So still liking the utilities sector. I got out of the rest of my position this week on the Ethereum trade. As you know, a couple weeks ago, I got in back here. We got the news on Ethereum getting approved as an ETF. Really kind of lucked out on this trade, but it provided some good gains, and I kind of feel like it's pretty much topped out there, so I'm not going to hold on to it anymore and book those gains. GDX still holding a small position on this stock. Just let it load here, and you can see we had a nice pop up here. I did sell some back here, and now I'm just kind of hanging on to the rest. As long as we hold above this 20 EMA, moving average. I'm just going to stick with it. It's kind of tipping on that one, tilting over. I'm a little bit concerned about it, obviously, but keeping an eye on it just the same because I think it has a potential to move higher. As far as my bowling position goes, I'm still holding on to these 260 calls that I'm short, and they're expire in August, so we're getting closer and closer to that date. Again, I've been trying to throw in a real low bid to get out of them, but I'm not willing to just cover them at market price right now because I just don't think there's any chance they're ever going to get there by August. CRM is a trade I put on Friday. I mentioned this in the room. I did actually an options trade on this, and again, if you want to learn more about options and some of the options trades I do, this I did was called a risk reversal. So I sold some 225 calls, or 20. I sold some 225 puts, bought some 240 calls. So I used the money that I got from the sale of the puts to buy the calls, and I'm just hoping we can continue this move up, and my puts will go to zero, and my calls will become more and more valuable. So that is I'm liking the way this CRM bounced off and went up on this on Friday, looking pretty bullish there. So hopefully we get a continuation on that. And MRUS was a trade I had put on. They came out with some really good news, got this move up, sold the rest of it because it looked like it put in a lower high here, and I'm all out of that trade. But this was another nice move on MRUS. And that's kind of it for some of the trades I did this week, other than day trading. So let's look at some potentials that I am looking at for this week. Again, I already talked about CRM. If we do start to get a move back up here, I'll just add on to this. I might cover these puts that I sold down here and roll them up maybe, and maybe even roll up the calls if they start to go into the green here, because there's a pretty big gap here, and there's not a lot of volume in this area. So I could see this going to 250. So we'll be keeping an eye on CRM for modifying the existing trade that I'm in. Zscaler is kind of interesting. It reported on Friday, really gapped up. They had good numbers, but you can see here really sold off, and it did come back up towards the end of the day like the rest of the market, but maybe there's an opportunity here to either short some puts back down here. It probably isn't going to go below this 156 level, but keep an eye on how it reacts next day or two as we get into the market open and possible for a long. But there was they had good numbers, so you can see that's why it gapped up, but they just sold it off as soon as the gap up happened. So a lot of people that were trapped above there were happy to get out and made themselves at least got a break even. Here's Dell. Dell's interesting too. Dell really sold off. He came down here right to an area. It filled this gap here, which is pretty much an area would have expected it to bounce from. So maybe an opportunity here now that it's filled this gap, that it will either hang around here or it could potentially move back up. So we'll see how Dell reacts next week. Another trade I'm looking at right now, and I put a bit of an options trade on Friday. I don't know if I'm going to hold this. I don't think I'm going to hold this through earnings because Lulu has earnings on Wednesday, I believe. But you can see here we have really sold off on Lulu. Like we were up here at almost $500 back in the beginning of the year. Now we're down under 300, traded below 300. It's coming back up here. There's a big gap here where they had some news, and now it's sort of making its way back up. But earnings on Wednesday don't like to hold stuff through earnings, so probably get out of that trade before that happens. Disney again is one I've been watching. Let's see what it looks like, and it's got it looks like it's put in a bottom here. I was watching it for a bounce off 100. It did get down to almost 100, and I didn't get an opportunity to get in, but it looks like it's holding here, and it may actually move back up now that it's found this bottom here, right in close to this 100 level. And again, this is a nice little gap fill here. So, and the only other one that I'll definitely be watching this week. This will be the last week that NVIDIA will be trading before the split, because next following week it will be trading probably around $100, depending on where we go out on Friday, but 10 for 1 on the stock. So NVIDIA is looking a little weak here. We did sort of get a gap fill on Friday, came down, filled this little gap, but we really bounced off this 9 EMA, and be watching this again. But it's possible it could run into earnings. Usually after a split event, usually a stock drops a little bit. So if you're looking to get in, maybe possibly wait till after the split and then look to buy in on that possible drop that happens after. But knowing NVIDIA, that's hard to say. It may not drop at all. It may just start to go up again after it trades down just around 100 or so. So just keep an eye on NVIDIA, and we'll see how it goes out at the end of the week. It'll be very interesting. And that's about it, everyone. All right, so let's wrap things up here for this coming week, June the 3rd, full week of trading. So there's where your indexes are with the various support resistance levels. What have we got for economic events this week? We do have some interesting stuff coming up. The most interesting of all will be this ADP employment report, Wednesday, 8:15 before the market opens, and the employment reports and wages that come out at 8:30 on Friday. Of course, that's sort of been one of the Fed's focuses on how things have been going in the labor market, and whether that's continuing to put pressure on prices. So we'll see how those numbers come out on Friday. So everyone will be waiting for those. As far as earnings go, we are pretty much through the earnings season. There's still some relatively interesting earnings coming up. We do have CrowdStrike here on Tuesday. Lululemon has really been hard hit, and it'll be interesting to see how it reacts in earnings. Autodesk and DocuIn on Thursday. So let's see how that pans out this week. But again, a fairly light week for earnings. So that's it, everybody. Hope you can join us on Monday morning. We are starting live at 8 o'clock on YouTube, and we continue to stay live on YouTube right into the market open. So you can join us live on YouTube there. And for our members, we'll of course be trading the market open at 9:30 with you as well. So have a great rest of the weekend, everyone. Wrapping it up, and we'll see you on Monday morning.